with my eyes. So it's
Outside it is heavily cloudy and it's some light rain. So if you hear anything in the background, it's because it's raining. If you hear anything in the background over here, or you see like people walking past, that's because everybody's inside because it's raining. So this has been such a rough week for me, and honestly, a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about is just from my heart. This is not scripted. This is just pure me just speaking. So a lot of times when I'm doing these things, I have to have some sort of script to arrange my mind, because sometimes I'm a Sagittarius. You gotta know I'm a Sagittarius if you watch these videos. I go from A to B to C to Z just to make it a point that I was trying to go to T. So I'm gonna try to stay on topic with this, and hopefully the editor of the video editor is not gonna get mad at me because this video may be long. But it's just raw emotions. I feel like I'm ready to get this out. The process is still not done, so it's sort of me documenting how I'm feeling in the moment as I'm experiencing it, and not just like retrospectively. So a week ago, or over a week ago, I should say, I think it was around like March 5th or so, I decided to get some lab testing done to see if everything in my body is okay. And a part of this testing, they do like blood tests, urine, everything to find out if your liver functions are okay, if your blood, anything that's off, it'll tell you the scales and how high or low it's above it, or it doesn't meet this requirement. So I've been feeling kind of weird, and I have been feeling kind of weird for the past few years, but it's something that a lot of people just choked up to just, you're growing, you know? Like if I'm feeling tired or anything, they're just like, well, you're not 22 anymore, honey, like you're growing up. And I'm just like, okay, well, I refuse to accept that notion that just because I'm growing a little bit, and just because it's been like 3 or 4 years, that I have to just drastically be tired. On one hand, older people are telling you, you shouldn't be feeling that. You're too young to feel tired and all that stuff. On the other hand, they're just like, well, you're getting older, so your body's going through changes. So I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. What am I supposed to feel? I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, literally. So I'm just trying to know my body. At this point, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna take everything to my own hands. I'm gonna start to not diet, but start to eat healthy, change certain things, be plant-based, eat more moderately. Now, I'm not saying that I was like that the whole years, because sometimes, you know, you go in and out, but mostly people are know me for eating a little bit more healthier. I started to exercise in the past few years, you know, like I was hiking through jungles, through mountains. I hiked the highest mountain in Costa Rica. It was just like I was getting it. Okay, I had a lot of muscle. I was doing things that I never thought that I could possibly achieve. Like I was being very disciplined on my health, and I had taken care of my health. I was still tired. Like I was like, what the fudge is going on? Like I'm doing everything right. Now, in some instances, I would have more energy than others, but you know, when I got really low, sometimes I would get really low, and I just didn't know where I was going with everything. So I had gotten testing done because I was in the Peace Corps. I think it was from 2017 to 2019. And once I was in the Peace Corps, I was afforded not life insurance, health insurance, right? And this was the first time that I had the ability to utilize this tool that previously I didn't have access to. A lot of times, I grew up poor, I grew up broke, and so having health insurance was either Medicaid, and once you got kicked off of that when I was 18 years old, it was just like either pay or you just figure it out. You have to go to free clinics. You have to wait 2 years to get on the waiting list. I was a person that I wanted to be on top of my health. I want to live a long life, and I want those around me to live a long life. And I just often try to get my health in control through eating and exercising, and whatever money I could scrape up, I would utilize towards either going to the doctors or going to the dentist. But a lot of times I couldn't follow up with them because I didn't have enough money to pay out of pocket. A lot of times, if you wanted to get more labs done, then you have to pay like 200, 250, and it would stack up. So by the time I had got into the Peace Corps, in order to get to the Peace Corps, I had spent probably almost $1,000 trying to secure my health. So everything was good. I got everything that I needed to get done. My health was cool, and college and everything, it was fine, okay? Come Peace Corps, I was actually living in a community that was surrounded by, it was called piñeras, and basically that's a pineapple plantation. And then on the other side, and it's like completely surrounded by pineapple plantation. On the other side, it's surrounded by banana fields. And oftentimes, there's pesticides being driven over, just like flown over by an airplane for the banana fields. Then on the pineapple fields, you would have, a whole bunch of pesticides and fertilizers being planted day and night, or just like sprayed on day and night, day and night, day and night, every single day to keep this yield up. And a lot of these pineapples and bananas are going to the US and Europe. It's not even going to Costa Ricans themselves. So I was living there, and what I noticed is that, I wasn't doing so well there. Health-wise, a lot of people weren't doing so well there. A lot of the Peace Corps people that lived there weren't doing so well there. Their health started to decline. And I ended up staying a year until something happened. And that happening was an accumulation of things, but the cherry on top was that I had gotten over there. I had to get removed for my safety. But living there, when I was getting tested and I actually utilized the health insurance, I would go to, different private hospitals afforded, or the privilege. I had the privilege of going to these private hospitals afforded by, the Peace Corps. It was showing that I had a lot of vitamin deficiencies and different things. They're just like, you need to eat more protein, you need to eat more this, you need to eat more that. And I was just like, okay, but I had dropped a lot of weight. I had stopped eating a lot because of just depression and everything that was going on. So my health started to decline somewhere in between then. And I had ended up getting sent home because of, I had to get medevac. I had to get therapy, different things like labs and everything done. So while I'm getting my labs done and everything that was required, I felt, pain, abdominal pains and everything. And I had to get a whole bunch of checklists in order to go back to the Peace Corps. Of course, they're going to switch my site, but go back into the Peace Corps. And once I got all my stuff done, there were a few things that they needed to do, and I had to get a therapy hour, my hours in and everything. And I was just like, okay, it's fine, cool. Everything is good. Every inquiry that I had, whatever, passed through. I ended up getting put back into Costa Rica, and I started to not only be in a lovely family, but I started to work on my health. I started to work on certain tools that I found that was weak, like personally, that was weakened from going to a very toxic environment that I had to use in a much more healthier environment. And then I also started to, strengthen social ties and get back into health. Like, I was physically active, okay? Like, I was in tip-top shape, and I got everything in order. So I'm about to leave Peace Corps, and a lot of people know about COS. That's just a closing of service. You have to do a whole bunch of health stuff, and just to see whether you're fit to go back to the US, or do we have to take care of things now? And once you do end your service, that's the end of healthcare, and that's back to me not having healthcare. I was just like, okay, there's certain things that are going on with me health-wise, I still do have some anemia, some deficiencies, but I'm sure going back to the US, I'm going to be able to supplement that because I couldn't eat meat in Costa Rica or anything. I'm a Muslim, so I eat halal, zabiha, whatever, you know. So I was eating mainly rice and beans and vegetables or fish if I had my hands on it, or eggs. So my diet was largely limited there, and I was just like, okay, well, if I go back, I could just finally afford some supplements or different things going back to the United States. So they found a couple of things that were wrong. They just said change your diet, just change your diet, whatever. So I go back to the United States. I'm, continuing with lab testing. Of course, I can't follow up with a lot of, lab core stuff, like actually getting the blood and everything, because I would have some money, but I had to put money towards paying off bills, student loans. I didn't have enough money to invest in my health. I didn't have, a job that provided healthcare and different things. So I was just basically on my own, and whenever I had the money and I had the privilege of setting that money aside to focus on my health, it was just like, it was very limited. Like, I went to the dentist and I have to keep on paying money, but I have bills and I have student loans and I have interest and I have all these things I have to take care of. And sometimes I would put my health to the back burner. And instead, I tried to practice preventative measures, which is actually trying to be more healthier and exercising. And if I feel any pain or anything, like, I would look it up. I had a habit, everybody, Google. You would Google your symptoms and they would tell you you're dying. I would be like, okay, so I wouldn't exactly believe, but I would be like, okay, like, let me eat healthy in order to try to calm and relax whatever pain that I had. I actually signed up for Mira. My sister referred me to Mira, and Mira is like an urgent care kind of deal. But they give you access to lowering your costs for LabCorp, and they also give you an opportunity to connect with some of the more inexpensive doctors in your neighborhood and anywhere in the nation. So now all of these private companies that are popping up, around this time of the pandemic, where there's a lot of financial strife, a lot of people are looking for other ways to get healthcare. And, I try to sign up for Georgia Healthcare. It's just that they were telling me to pay $200 a month for crap insurance, and something that at this point in life I cannot personally do. I have a lot of other things that I have to take care of. I signed up for these other things because they were more economical, but I'm trying to take my health I'm trying to put health to a forefront in my life. Because now I'm having no energy. I'm kind of feeling a lot, different pains here and there. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? No one's going to advocate for my health. The government, as probably makes billions or trillions of dollars, and they don't want to pay towards a lot of, healthcare and different things. So, this is not trying to be a political video, but honestly, like, I think that is often tied up with it. So this is just my personal story about how I feel with things. So I'm looking at my lab results and I'm seeing that my liver functions are literally not good. I mean, it's not the worst. It's not like I'm dead, but it's pretty bad. Considering that I've been trying to, go on a health journey and keep myself healthy and everything, like, what is going on with my liver? I had gotten Mira Health, and basically it's sort of like a supplemental insurance-ish. I don't know what to call it, but basically you get to buy sort of like an annual deal where you have access to labs for a discounted price. You also have access to urgent care, and on top of that, they could call different specialists and doctors on your behalf to find out which one is the least expensive. So now that I'm in high alert, after reading WebMD, Googling everything, they're telling me that it's liver damage, cirrhosis, hepatitis, alcoholic liver, all of that stuff, fatty, whatever, right? possibly liver cancer, I'm kind of just like, okay, well, I'm gonna start to change my diet, even like restricting it even more. So I stopped eating a lot of meat, and different proteins, animal fats, animal proteins. I started to eat a lot more stuff that is good for bettering your liver. So I started to eat vegetables that have beta carotene, fruits that have beta carotene. You know, like I was just like, okay, well, if I do that, then hopefully it would adjust everything. Still kind of thinking in that mentality, preventative care, preventative measures, you know, because now I guess it's not preventative measures, but now I'm trying to mitigate it, but I'm taking it in my own hands. And I called Mara too, and I was just like, okay, Mara, can you find me a doctor so that they can make sense of these lab results? Because I started to call the urgent care, and you can't do that. You can't just go straight to urgent care. They're gonna say no. You need to go to a primary physician so that they can make sense of everything. So that's exactly what I did. And when I called Mira, they found out that there is an inexpensive thing near me. It's local, and then on top of that, they kind of discount prices the more you come in. You know, so I was just like, okay, fine, like let's go. 2 days later, I end up getting a primary physician appointment, and the lady is reading my lab. She was like, okay, well, this says that your liver functions are not doing so well. So this is quite odd. Here's your things. You could get your lab done to see further testing to like see if this is good, because sometimes food may like increase liver enzymes and different things if you had eaten during that time, or based on what you were eating, it could kind of like change things. You could also get an ultrasound. All of these things were just like, it was super cheap for what I was expecting. So I ended up hopping on, you know, getting an ultrasound and everything done. As I was doing the ultrasound, I was asking the lady, for some reason I was so nervous, like my heart was beating. And the lady there was just like, you know, just doing her job, just disinterested. And I said, well, I hope that, I had made the comment, like, I hope that my ultrasound comes out good. You know, like I don't have like an inflamed liver or whatever, you know, like I hope everything, or my gallbladder, everything is good. So they end up doing my abdomen, and the lady was just like, oh, you'll be fine, you're young. You know, like the same thing that a lot of older people do, like you're young, like everything is gonna be fine. So I get back downstairs. They told me to go back inside so they could tell me about the ultrasound results and everything. Because I asked the lady, I was like, are you not going to tell me? She was like, no. Everything would be passed down to your primary physician. They'll tell you about everything. So I see my primary doctor when I get downstairs, and she's like, go to the room. So I get to the room, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I hope everything is going well. I didn't really expect the worst, but I'm just like, okay, what are they gonna tell me? They told me one of the worst things that I could possibly hear after hearing that my grandfather had died from something similar. And basically the doctor came in, and she started with the good news. She was like, good news, your other organs and nothing is inflamed and everything. And then she kind of had this kind of like weird look over her that I sensed from her. And she had read, you know, we see an hyperechoic mass that is growing on your liver. If I can kind of describe the moment that I was in, it's like suddenly, it's like in movies where everything is going past you and going at like a super quick pace, and sounds are starting to lower. You're starting to like block everything out, and you could just feel your heartbeat, like you're feeling your blood, everything rushing, and like your stomach drops, like you're just sitting there and just in some sort of trance, just the worst possible information just confirmed to you. I'm sitting there just looking down, then I go to look at her, and involuntarily tears start dropping out my eyes. Like before I can realize that I'm having some sort of reaction, my tears just start dropping out my eyes, and I'm trying to like maintain my voice so that I could still sound like I have everything in control. But this is coming from a place that in 2020, a lot of my family members the friends of my family had died. It felt like every single month I was hearing about 1 or 2 deaths. And it just felt like everybody was dying around me and carrying into 2021. On top of that, my grandfather, who had been diagnosed with cancer, I think like it was around the summertime of 2018, had been living with cancer for about a year and a half before he just started to, or I should say less than a year before he started to just shrink all the way down. And then he started to slowly start to perish. And so it was our responsibility to take my grandfather in and out of his cancer appointments, to take him to any doctors that he needed to have, because his organs were basically starting to shut down. And one of the organs that was shutting down was his liver. And the reason why his liver was having this high state of cirrhosis was because of hepatitis C. And back when he was younger, he had appendicitis and he had to go into the hospital and get a blood transfusion. Back then, they didn't check for blood. They didn't check to see if there were diseases that a person may have donated blood with, and if it's contagious. They were just like, they just gave you blood. If you needed blood, they gave it to you. Of course, I get, depending probably on, whether it matches yours or anything. That's to the extent that they did. So he was living all these years, unbeknownst to him, with hepatitis C. And he didn't find out until way later in his life, when he already was going through a body, I should say, like a health crisis in his body. So he wasn't able to get the cure. There's a cure for it, but he wasn't able to get that. And by the time he found out about that, his liver was already going through cirrhosis. So we put on his death certificate that he died from complications of cancer, which is very true. But the pain that he was specifically talking about, and towards the time where he was in and out of the hospital the most, which was like a week up into his death, he was having extreme liver pain. So just reliving in my mind about my grandfather, who I saw him as strong, and my grandfather was a very tender-hearted man. He was like a gentle giant, but you could always depend on him for anything. And up into his dying days, he always was a person that he needed to do everything himself. He was independent in everything, but cancer taken hold of him so much that literally he could not even walk. He couldn't move himself in the bed. We had to change his diapers and do everything for him. All of this stuff is going through in my mind about how I lost so many family members. I'm talking about like family and friends, like over 10 people had died and then still is dying in 2021. And when you're going through that moment of just like a lot of people are starting to die around you, and people in your household, like especially when it's in your household as well too, you start to get the feeling that maybe I'm going to die soon. You no longer feel invincible. And even though in the back of your head, you know that everybody's going to die, it just gets so real, especially when you're seeing it right before your eyes. And I was literally distraught just laying there, because before then, and I actually had to get counseling. I put myself in counseling too, because it was getting to the point where I had anxiety over death, anxiety over whether I was going to die, and different things. Because this had, even though my great grandmother, I love my great grandmother. She had died when I was 5 years old, and we used to visit her every single Sunday. I was very close to her, but this was my first major death as an adult. And I think that it had definitely taken a hold on me, because it's just like, this is the pandemic, then your family is dying, then somebody of your household is dying, and you're seeing the progress of that from cancer. And a lot of people in my family had died from cancer or some sort of health issue or coronavirus. So I'm sitting there, and the lady is just like, she sees me crying, just I'm not even like, forcing a cry or whatever. It's just teardrops dropping from my eyes. And I'm trying to talk to get more information out. She gives me some tissue, and she's just like, it doesn't have to be cancer. It could be something else, but I'm definitely concerned about your liver function. So it's definitely something that you have to look at with a specialist. And she was just like, you just have to go to see a GI doctor. I would like to just say that, I'm growing a business. For the first time in my life, I found somebody, I have a partnership that I'm with somebody that I truly love and care for, that I thought that I couldn't do. I was beginning to see a future ahead with them, with my family, with of the business that we're growing. Like, I'm just like, wow, I'm 26 years old. I finally feel like I'm going somewhere. And then this happens. It just like punched me in the lungs. And I'm like, my voice begins to falter and crack as I'm talking to her. And I'm just like, I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm apologizing from all these tears that are just flowing out my eyes so much that I feel blind. And I'm just like, I just had so many people that I love gone from cancer or, different diseases. Like, I'm so sorry if I feel like that, because in the back of my mind is that, okay, even if you remove the cancer, if I do have cancer, if you remove the cancer, you still have to live a life of remission, basically, or just like basically restricted, something that I wasn't used to. So I go back home and I'm just, driving, just letting the zone take over. And I told my mother and my sister, and I began to cry, and they're just like, you don't know, everybody trying to be positive. You just got to keep positive and everything. And I'm just like, it's so easy for you to say, just keep positive. And you're not going through this. Because I am trying to get help for not feeling like I am going to die, or different traumas that occurred in my life. And now it's just like I could possibly be facing my mortality. So I kept having dreams that night. After somebody tells you certain information like that, not only is your liver functions not doing good, then you find a mass on your liver. And the ultrasound could pick up different things, like this hypoechoic mass. So this is definitely a mass. So I start to research, and that's the worst thing you should do. I start to research online about what exactly is going on with me. I stop eating because I'm just like, oh my God, like everything that I eat, is it going to hurt me? Is it going to spread? Like, what is this? It's almost just like you're having so much anxiety about the unknown, because you don't know what's going on. You don't know what is springing this. You don't know why it came. How is it spreading? Why is it here? So I could tell you that these past few days, my heart started hurting. I stopped eating. I started having, a little bit more pain here. My head, every single moment was just like, if I was alone, even when I was around people, I felt like I was by myself. I felt like it was something in the back of my head that I could not separate. Every time people talked about the future, every time I watched a YouTube video, they're just like, we're gonna, the future. I'm just like, am I gonna have a future? Am I gonna live to see this future? When I'm talking to anybody and they're just like, oh my God, we should go here, I'm just like, well, I live to go there. Like, it was just very depressing overall, because a mixture between feeling, I guess, anxiety and the symptoms of anxiety and not knowing what's going on. So you're starting to develop different things. You're starting to be in tune with your body in a way that's unhealthy, that every little thing is just like, you're looking it up. Okay, liver pains and my fingers are tingling. And it could possibly be just because of anxiety. So a couple of days after I am just in this space, this hole, I go to look at my records to see if anything in the past signifies something. Because I'm just like, Did it just appear out of nowhere? Like, you know, what happened? And they're telling me that I'm vaccinated. Like, I'm all the way up, you know, like my hepatitis stuff is all the way good. I shouldn't have hepatitis. I'm sitting there reading and I'm just like, okay, well, it's giving me some calming things down because I couldn't sleep or anything. Like, I'm just hysterical, just trying to keep it cool, but just another thing is coming up, another pain, you know, like I'm not eating, I'm scared to eat and everything. So that kind of wanes down a little bit. So I'm just like, okay, maybe it's not hepatitis. Mainly hepatitis is what causes cancer. And I'm trying to, you know, play house. Okay, I'm trying to be like Hugh Laurie and whatnot on myself with little knowledge about oncology, cancers, or little knowledge about these things within gastroenterology. I get to another lab result that was taken in 2018 when I had gotten medically evacuated. And it had shown that my liver functions weren't good in 2018. In 2018, when I got medically evacuated from that town in Costa Rica, my liver functioning was not good then. That means for about 3 years, I was living with a liver function that was not the best. And I had absolutely no symptoms other than I would feel kind of fatigued, I would feel kind of abdominal pain and everything. So I'm just like, okay, I'm seeing this right now. And I'm just like, in 2018, I went to this doctor. How come this doctor didn't tell me that my liver functions? He only gave me vitamin D pills because I was vitamin D deficient. And if you know anything about liver cancer or anything, it starts with those vitamin deficiencies as well too. That's like a telltale sign on top of abdominal pain and everything. Now, I'm not saying I have that because I don't know that for sure. All I'm just saying is that if you are a primary physician, it would be very good to tell the person that you have poor liver function. Dude, you couldn't tell me that one of my organs weren't functioning well? So I was so used to doctors just writing off my pain, writing off the things that I was going through. And I think that a lot of Black women can speak to this when they feel specifically like when you're entering a space like that your pain doesn't matter. You do not matter. Like, you're not even listening to me. You don't care about what's going on with my body. And that's when I realized that, because everybody's just like, maybe it's a trial, you know, like maybe God is giving you a trial. I'm thinking that maybe it's taken to the point that I have to start advocating for myself. I never really advocated because I trusted that they were the physicians, they were the professionals, and if there's something wrong, then they'll tell me. But I also, because I didn't have the money, I also didn't want to find anything wrong with me. Because something wrong basically meant that I have to pay all this money that I don't have and get into debt, more debt over something that I am trying to figure out myself. Something wrong is a dollar sign that I cannot look at right now. And you mean to tell me that either when I got hit by a car, I'm saying one of my organs are not functioning well, or when I have a lab result and you're saying, and then maybe he overlooked it or whatever and just gave me vitamin D pills, but one of my organs are not, it's showing that it's not working. It's not like me saying it verbally for the sake of it. You mean to tell me that you couldn't, like, something like this could have been prevented? Now, I'm a very tender soul. I never really stood up for myself. I always stood up if it was for another person. I never really stood up for myself. I don't know why, but I just went around forgiving things. But if this is something worse, then I might consider something, I might consider, because it had gotten to the point that I developed arthritis as well too, which is one of the signs apparently for an autoimmune hepatitis that is common among a young woman. I'm just like, if my liver was scarred, how come we couldn't deal with this before? Now I have this mass, and now I don't know. Now I have to shell out more money for an So basically now, I think after finding out that it may not have been hepatitis, and after finding out that I was living with poor liver functions before, you know, and I got in this far. Who knew how long this mass has been growing, or I don't know. I don't know. But some of the things that are helping me cope is still, I'm getting some of my appetite back, but eating healthy. Still eating healthy during the time of not knowing and just waiting for results to come. I definitely recommend eating healthy. If you can take control, either sit down and meditate and just like calm down, or still go out to exercise. Like after this, I'm about to go out and exercise. I'm gonna take all these clothes and everything, and I'm gonna go exercise. Still kind of like live your regular life. I started to actually, if you're a religious person, prayer helps. If you're not a religious person, positive affirmations, whatever floats your boat, whether you're spiritual, religious, or not, do whatever you can to help keep your mind in a homeostasis state where it's peaceful. And one of those things is not looking up on WebMD and all these other things about what it could possibly be, because you're starting from looking up all these things with little knowledge, and then it starts to just grow. If you are doing everything that you can to help, and it takes time to learn about these things. If you're doing everything that you can to help, you're seeing professionals and everything, don't unnecessarily look up things that are going to cause you anxiety, especially if you know that you're a type of person that is prone to anxiety. So I recommend staying away from that. I stopped looking up that. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, my arm, should I type it in? Just don't. Because sometimes they jump to the worst case scenarios. It may not be what it is. Listen, and I'm saying this and I don't know. I'm trying to keep a positive mind. I'm literally telling myself it's nothing. It's just probably a tumor growth that is benign, and I'm just trying to do that, because being in a bad headspace is not going to help me. All this anxiety is going to give me more conditions, more things that I'm going to worry about. It's going to stop me from eating. It's going to prevent me from living things that could be beneficial to helping whatever that I have, like whatever I have. It's going to be halted. So right now I'm just in this space where I'm just like chill and everything, you know. It doesn't stop me from, I'm not just being wild with my life. I don't drink. I've never drank. I'm not doing all these things that can harm me, because I do want to ultimately live. But whatever is my destiny, you know, like I am coming to peace with that. Because I'll be the first one to tell you that I don't like waiting for things that are unknown for me. Like, I want to know off the bat. But I just have to be patient, honestly. Tomorrow is my grandfather's birthday. He would have been 68. Yes, I have a young grandfather. And we're going to celebrate it with ice cream and cake, which I'm going to eat a little tiny bit of. I'm not going to deprive myself, but I'm also not going to eat too much of it. And when I be a little bit, I'm like this, okay? And a little teaspoon of ice cream, because I'm not even an ice cream eater all like that in the first place, but they're getting carrot cake, and I definitely have to partake in carrot cake. And so I'm going to do that. We also want to visit his grave. We say prayers and we talk to him and everything weekly, and so that helps me to know that no matter what happens, even if I don't make it, even if it's something serious, and it's just like I want to be where my grandfather is, and I just know that my family's gonna visit me. So, but I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep you guys updated on what goes on and what new discovery is happening. If everything is just gonna be fine. So yeah, I'm checking out. Peace, T Squad.